Yo, what's going on, people? This is Between the Game Sports back again, and this time we're out in Barberville, Kentucky, with a coach who's been at it for almost 30 years. Coach Dean Walsh, what's going on, Coach?
Hey, I appreciate it. It's dealing with the heat and the life of today, trying to figure out what's going on one day to the next.
Yeah, it's you really don't know what's going to happen between social things and then health reasons and everything else. So I totally understand where you're going with that. So let's jump right into it. Tell the people a little bit about your background and how you got into coaching.
I tell everybody I'm a dinosaur. I've been around for a while. I got started. I was blessed. I was started right out of college. Worked with Coach Wes Moore, who's now the coach at NC State.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I went on to high school level for 2 years and then came back and worked with the men's level for 2 years. And then went on to be a junior college coach at the age of 25. Head JUCO coach, age of 25. Got started that way. Then came back to Division III level as a head coach, and been at the D2 level, the D1 level as an associate head coach. Won a head coach at that level, and then NAIA level also. So I've been at pretty much at every level now.
Okay. So were you a basketball guy growing up, or just something that you kind of fell into? What led you into coaching?
I was a track guy. And I mean, I didn't play basketball. I didn't start playing basketball in ninth grade. But I was very fortunate. The high school I went to in Florida, Meriden High School, played with Will Perdue, who you've watched this Jordan thing going on, that special going on. He was being interviewed, and I was his backup. You know, imagine me at that time 6'3", backing up 6'11".
Mm-hmm.
He was someone that had me, kind of took me under his wing, and I worked out with him in the summers, and that allowed me to kind of blossom and grow and go on to play college ball. And going to go to law school, and decided, nope, I'm staying with basketball. I was asked to help, and I did, and just kind of the bug bit me. I didn't want to leave it.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of how I started. Well, I've never been a track guy. It's just I was fast when I was young, and then my family genes kind of kicked in, and that track thing kind of went out the door. But I actually was a baseball guy. Basketball wasn't even my best sport, but I just kind of fell in love with it off the jump. And so you've been at it for almost 30 years. I think you're going into your 30th year of coaching. I can't recall how many years you've been at Union College, but for those who have never heard of Union College, again, it's out in Kentucky. Most people only hear from Lexington or Louisville or something like that. But tell the people a little bit about Union College overall.
Well, this was my first year here.
Okay.
NAI, which NAI is all one level now, so NAI Division I, I guess you could say. We're about an hour and a half from Lexington. We're also about an hour and a half from Knoxville. Of course, this is a basketball state, probably one of the only states in the South that cares about basketball more than football.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been big blue fan, so I kind of fit right in here. Give my Louisville fans on my team a hard time all the time, but we're about 3 hours from Louisville. But it's in Southeast Kentucky, rich in tradition. The men's team has won the conference and the conference championship 7 straight years. They won a national championship 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then we end up winning the conference tournament championship this year for the first time in 5 years, where they had won it 5 years prior to that. So there's a lot of tradition here. And we're trying to keep it that way. Again, it's basketball rich. They are crazy about their basketball here. The biggest thing that really got me was coming from South Carolina, my last job, where all they talk about is football. Here, they said football is just a way to get to basketball. And I wasn't used to hearing that.
Uh-huh.
Strong academic school in the sciences, very strong academically in education field, nursing, the psychology. It's one of the best in the whole state and region in clinical psychology and psychology right now. So It's small school, but it's a very family oriented, and it's a gorgeous campus. I honestly can say that. You got the mountains surrounding you, so when the leaves change colors, there's always a good backdrop, and their fans love basketball here. I'm just gonna tell you.
I've always wanted to experience going to Kentucky, maybe the Kentucky Louisville game. I've always watched it when it's on TV, ESPN, but I know for sure that Kentucky is definitely a basketball state compared to Texas, where it's kind of all football or nothing. It's kind of getting to the point where basketball is trying to catch up, but it's never going to be king, I guess you can say. But you've been at it for so long, and you told me earlier when I talked to you on the phone that you are the only coach. People think about this. He's the only coach on any level besides D1, NAIA, JUCO, Division II, Division III. He's the only coach to make it into the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. When you got that news, how did that make you feel? What were your thoughts on that?
Just me being who I am, it kind of embarrassed me because I love the game. To me, it's my field. It's my work to help these kids grow and be good people. But to hear when you kind of sit back and think about it, which during this time of Corona and social unrest, you have time to sit and you got to take time for yourself. You have to. And you sit back and think, that's kind of a good accomplishment, to junior college, Division II, Division III, and NAIA levels to make it to take a team to the round of 32. But I'll go back and say this. Yes, I've been fortunate that's happened. I've had great assistant coaches, and you got to have good players. I've never seen a coach say this when they had bad players. So, you've got to have good players. They've got to buy into your system. And we've just been very fortunate that has happened.
Okay, so you told me earlier that you've had multiple all-conference players. How many is it?
Well, I mean, just from the post play alone, 30. 30
wow.
in my 20 years as a head coach, and 11 All-Americans. So we've been – but, and those are all great. But at the end of the day, especially when you're dealing with a small college, most of the time it's about that education. And in my years as a head coach, every player who's finished their eligibility has graduated on time. So it's 100% rate. Now you can kind of track the ones that transfer because let's face it, kids transfer, and it's still a little over 99%. So, we try to recruit the student who understands that academics have to come first. And I want you competitive. I'm going to help you get your degree. You help me win. Easy trade-off.
That's how it goes. I spoke to one of my assistant coaches a couple of weeks ago about kind of, being a head coach or being an assistant coach in college. You kind of have to have a little craziness about you to pin your livelihood about dealing with 18 to 21-year-olds. How have you dealt with that, overall?
I mean, through the years, it's changed. I can remember back in the day when I first started, Bobby Knight was my idol. That's who I was trying to model after. You act like Bobby Knight now, you're working a sales job on the street somewhere. You can't be like that. And so it's changed. It's the dynamics have changed of how you talk to kids and how you treat them. They all want to be coached hard. They all want to be treated. They all want to be treated with respect. And I think once they understand that there's respect there, that you care about them more than basketball, I think that's the biggest key. Then they tend to get that hard coaching. They tend to play hard for you. And that's what we've been, again, I think it goes back to recruiting. So many coaches that I've talked to and mentor right now, they just want to find the best player. And all of a sudden they don't fit the system. Next thing you know, they're wondering why they transfer. I think you got to find my method has been find that athlete who loves the game, has a high motor, wants to be coached, and fits what you do as a coach. Because at the end of the day, you got to play together to win.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, and that was the thing with our team this year, we weren't the most athletic team. We had some size, but they played this team in all my years of coaching as a head coach or as an assistant. I've never had a team play like a team or as a family like this one did. We literally had zero drama all year long. I'm talking not even minuscule drama. And I want to clone that and hope that continues. But that helped us win. They coached in themselves. That I didn't have to discipline them. They were disciplining each other before I even said anything.
All right.
And those are your gold mine teams that you want. And so we strive to do that in the recruiting process. And it has changed. But I think the biggest thing now is really treating the student athlete as other than a piece to win basketball games for you. I really think that's the biggest key now, is building that relationship with these kids. Because so many of these kids, they come from families that are broken or going through problems, going through issues, and they need that other adult figure to give them that guidance and help them understand that, life's going to be fine. You're going to be okay. Let's get you through this.
Yeah, just understanding that kids, they're kids first, and then they're basketball players. Understanding that they're going to go through ups and downs and trials and tribulations, and for a coach to let them know that they care about them more than them just being a basketball player is tremendous. My coach at Stephen F. Austin, when I played, he still he still contacts me to this day, holidays, whatever it may be, and he shows that he cared, and that's just one of the reasons why I really do it. I will do anything for him. I'm pretty sure you have players along the line through your years of coaching that you have that will contact you about anything from life, marriage, or coaching, or whatever it may be. And so with that being said, you've been at it for 32. You've been at it for 30 years almost, going into your 30 year. How do you still find the energy to get up every day, get to practice, get to team meetings, coaches meetings, and all that other stuff? How do you still find the energy for that?
I love it. This isn't a job. The couple of years I haven't coached, I call it, I was working in the real world and I had to work a real job. To me, I love it. Every day is different. Every day you're building something. You're developing, in our case, these young women to be grown-ups. And I don't quit learning. I'm a member of several organizations through the WBCA that basically we're coaching each other. We're learning from each other. The game has evolved. The game has changed. So at times it's almost like you get creative in your own mind of, wow, let me try this. Let me see how this works. And you're using that on the court, almost like your lab. And then when you have fun with it, the players then look at you and say, wow, he's having fun with this. Let's have fun with it. You show that energy. And the relationship we have with our team, they know when to be serious. Their goals, when we talked, their goals were to win. We were picked 6th in the league to start the year in preseason. They were 15-15 last year when I inherited this team. Didn't have a chance to recruit anybody. They lost 4 key components, brought in 1 good transfer. She was eligible at Christmas. We finished 26-7, lost in the round of 32 in overtime to the 7th-ranked team in the country by 2.
Wow.
On the bus ride home from Iowa, first thing they asked was, what do we got to do to win a national championship? Start. And I'm not exaggerating. They asked that. Well, right off the bat, as a coach, you are put to another level. But they said one of their goals off the court was to give me gray hair or force me to lose my hair by acting silly and goofy. So we've allowed that to happen, and they're constantly sending me gifts that show 2 old men, from the Muppets, or guys doing a walker race. We give each other a hard time like that. There's that kind of relationship, and it's that, just if that can't energize you, nothing can. We lose that game, and you're at a loss for words because we played our hearts out. I had 2 players play 45 minutes, and that's just not easy. And another one play 40. And, and I told him, I said, I'd adopt every single one of y'all because of what you give me and what you do. And then 3 of them at the same time said, well, Coach, you pretty much have, because you are our dad or our second dad, and we would do anything for you. And, at that point, you try to be tough, but it's hard to. But it also sinks in that this is why I do this. Myself, my assistant, Ebony Gilliam, who is a rising star in this profession, they respected everything we did, and it gave both of us such a pleasure to know that we've helped them grow, not only on the court, but off the court. We had almost a 3.3 team GPA this year.
That's amazing.
And second semester, I had 3 girls with a 4.0, and that's with going to the tournament and with the Corona situation. So, your mind is in another world. And just that mindset of these kids and the work ethic they've had this summer, they fuel me. They make me feel young. And even though I'm not. They make you feel young, which means if you're doing your job, you've got to be ready for them.
Mhm.
You know, they're holding me accountable. And I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is you hold each other accountable. Families hold each other accountable. Families have their differences. You know, it's just how you communicate and how you handle it. And that keeps me going with this group. And it does. It keeps me going. It keeps me excited, energized. I work with a great bunch here at Union. They're fun to deal with. They're fun to be around. The support here, as I said, it's a basketball state. So if you're winning in basketball, they love you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just fun. It is. It's a lot of fun, and that's the bottom line. Got to have fun with what you do.
Yeah. I hope if I'm in the game that long, I can still find that type of energy. I'm a huge basketball guy. And you spoke on, I'm going to throw this out there. You spoke on two of your kids playing 45 minutes and then one kid playing 40 minutes. The very first game that I ever started in college, I played 38 minutes. And the very next day, I thought I was going to die at practice. So I thought I was going to die at practice. And I'm looking at the starters that's been starting. Like, man, how y'all do this on a regular? So just speak about, I guess, your conditioning or what your expectation is for your players when it comes to that kind of. That's a lot of minutes.
It's a lot of
minutes.
And it was. And then you add to it, it's the round of 32 of a national tournament. So the adrenaline is kicking in too. And then you have two starters foul out. So now you want to come out. I mean, our post to, she averaged 25 minutes a game. The year prior, she averaged 14 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
And she played 40 minutes in this game. And she looked at me one time. I said, forget it. I let her know, forget it. You're staying out there. You
Absolutely.
know? If I have to call a timeout, I will.
I will.
The conditioning aspect is huge. We try to make our practices conditioning oriented. I'm not one of these guys who's going to practice you forever. At the beginning of the year, yes, we're going 2.5 hours. We're going to, and because there is that teaching, there's that teaching, there's that learning. I was new. I'm learning them. So there's a lot more talking, but everything we do is based on pace. And then as we get into season, you start managing their minutes. So practices will have its intense moments to keep up the cardio part, but you also don't want to wear their legs out. So they're constantly doing contrast baths. You know, people used to say ice baths. Now it's the contrast bath that most athletic trainers tell you is better for you. We are going hot to cold or cold to hot. They hate it. They absolutely hate it, but it rejuvenates your legs quicker. So we do that heavily. And then when we're in season, we're an hour and a half. I mean, we're not going a ton of time. And day before a game is heavy walkthrough, competition drills to keep that flow going. But you've got to – now next year with the numbers being higher, we'll probably be heavier paced. My goal is 95 possessions a game. This year we're at 84 and a half. So that's probably going to change. So our pace will change. But we have them on a pretty heavy – my assistant coach came from Hampton University where running is the norm. I mean, that's just what they do. They run off the bus into the locker room. I mean so she's big on the conditioning aspect, and I put her in total charge of that. And she has them using the Nike app this summer, and they have to give her updates on what's going on. She talked to them heavily about nutrition. Coach Ebony was a 5'11" post player at the Division I level. Because of her heart and her conditioning and work ethic, she went on to play in Barcelona and was the league's leading rebounder and second leading scorer.
Oh, wow.
And so she had a story to tell, so they bought into it. And now we've had players losing weight, trimming up. They have asked her for a nutrition plan. Most of them have changed their body this summer already, and that's in a time of things are being closed.
Yeah.
You know? So that tells me their commitment right there. And the returners have told the incoming players, guys, we're going to run. You better be ready. But we change it up. I think in conditioning, you got to change it up. You know, we're going to do pool workouts, sand workouts, but we change up the type of drills we do so they don't get used to it. And because it's such a change of pace, change of direction sport, we don't run a mile for a time. I'm going to do everything sprint work. To build your cardio, we're going to do 10, 15-minute runs. Okay, so they're on that pace to build their cardio. But after that, it's heavy sprint work that is all basketball oriented, where they're changing direction or doing something defensively that's positioning that just it builds their conditioning, and it's still teaching a basketball habit. And I have found that to work greatly over the years.
Okay. Well, it seems like you got the formula down. I'm gonna put your information up, your email and your. I believe you said I could put your phone number up. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause my big thing is anybody who's interested in talking basketball or wanting to get better or learn just ins and outs. Yeah, I'm open to everything. I said I'm part of a mentor to mentor group,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I do. And I've actually have a Zoom call with someone who she's a tremendous young assistant also, and she wants to talk weekly, so we talk weekly. I mean, my job is there's no ego here. I come across confident at times because I love what I'm doing, and some things I feel like I am strong at. I want to help other people get better because my mentors, the late Pat Summitt was a very good friend of mine. Coach Hatchell, who was at North Carolina, Wes Moore, who's now at NC State, Rick Reeves, who's right up the road from me here, but he's been at the Division I level. He's won over 600 games. Those are huge mentors of mine, and all of them have talked about giving back. Yes. All of them have talked about saying nothing's original. Nothing is original. And so don't act like you created something. You didn't. You just tweaked it from somebody else. And so, and the biggest thing is I'm just a good thief. I'll take your idea. I'll take your idea and tweak it to my team, Yeah. And so that's what I like to say. And, it just makes you a better coach. I think if you quit learning, you really put yourself into a corner. And I see that too many with coaches nowadays. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's ego. But I think the minute you stop learning, like what you're doing here with these coaches, I think it's tremendous. And I've watched a couple of shows, and it's been really, really good when I've had a chance to. Your knowledge is coming out there to people. If people are watching this, hopefully they learn something from what we're doing or think, hey, I want to talk to him, maybe because he's from Kentucky. I want to hear his accent. I don't know.
Whatever it may be.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah. So I put your information up on the screen. For those who are watching, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's comment sections on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So if you're watching, if you got a question that you want the coach to answer, please feel free to put it in. And my next question is, you kind of touched on it earlier, the type of players that, you want hard-nosed and willing to work, and you got kids now that are losing weight. What type of recruits do you look for when you're out and about throughout the country?
I'm old school. I'm still going to stick to the old school ways, which in a way has made recruiting harder because you well know kids nowadays things are handed to them or things are covered up and fixed for them.
Yes.
I'm still looking for those families that mama will take away her cell phone because she got smart with dad. I like those kids. Again, I'm one of those. Coach Hatchell instilled this in me. She goes, Dean, you give me a track athlete, I'll teach her to play basketball. She said, give me someone who's athletic and has heart, and I'll teach them how to play. So I've taken that a little bit to where, I love athletes, but I want kids who have an IQ for the game, who play hard. And I want those kids that they're looking at the coach. They're not looking in the stands when something goes wrong, doing this. They're looking at the coach for instruction. They're when things aren't going well, they're not fussing at the official. They're not, when they're on the bench, they're cheering their teammates on. Those are the recruits I'm looking for, because those are the kids that mold into a team. Those are the kids who get better through instruction, because we're going to work you. Coach E and I will work you, and we're going to get you as a better player. They don't think they know it all. And you know that. You've seen it where a kid thinks they know it all, and all of a sudden they're not coachable. I want that hustle kid, that kid whose motor never stops. That honestly, I love having the kid who's told they're never going to make it in college. Why are you recruiting her, coach? And then she turns into an all-conference player, and I'm going to say that's why.
Absolutely.
And I've done that a lot. And it's just because of the kid's heart. I think the thing that we look for, and I can tell you this from many events at AAU games, we already know who we want to see. A lot of times we're sitting there so they can see the name on the shirt, Most of us coaches, the last this year obviously we didn't go, but the 2 years prior when I've gone, most of us have sat and watched the stands. We're seeing how families are acting, crossing off names because of it. and that's not fair to the student athlete, but at the same time, you got to think of administration, ourselves, the other players on the team. We don't want that. So when we recruit, we're recruiting the family. We want the family involved with us, on the same page as us. The line we tell every player: do you like everything your mom or dad or grandmother tell you? And they're going to say no. And I'm going to say, good, you're not going to like everything we tell you. Get used to it.
Get used to it.
And so we try to be extremely transparent and upfront with these kids. And at the end of the day, they'll all tell you that's what they want. It sounds good to hear what you want to hear, but at the end of the day, they want to be told reality. And that's just what we've worked on, and it's been successful. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The way I look at it.
Right.
And it's been successful. So that's what we look for in recruits. You don't have to be the most talented. I may want somebody all they do is dive on the floor for loose balls or take charges. That may be the piece I need with my team. I call them the glue player.
Absolutely.
That may be what I'm looking for. You know, it's just I don't listen to the white noise of what everybody else says or why you recruiting her or not recruiting her. I don't listen to that.
Okay. You touched on two things that I'm not doing AAU obviously this year because of the situation that's going on. But I try to tell parents all the time, you gotta watch what you say in the stands or watch how you act, because coaches are looking at that too, because there's so much going on in the college world. It's hard to deal with a parent that's just kind of like that. And then the other thing that you said was complaining to officials. I remember when I was a kid, very headstrong, man. I thought I knew it all. But I was one of those kids that used to go to officials and like just, I won't say talk crap, but like give them a hard time. And then my dad and my mom told me one day, at the end of each game, make sure you go shake the official's hand. And when I'm coaching AAU, I make sure that every single one of my kids go shake the official's hands because they don't have to be there. They're making about $10 to $15 a game. No one cares. They don't care if you win the game or not. They're just trying to do their job. So I try to make sure that none of my players are complaining to officials, make sure they shake their hands because they don't have to do it. And there's plenty of people that don't understand it. And I'm glad that you said that because officials are part of the game. So it's you can't have a basketball game, any sport game without officials.
It's real. And yes, there are a lot of them that don't take their job seriously or do a great job. And my players will get mad at me because they're getting mad at the officials. Officials make a bad call, and I'm saying the official made a good call. Well, psychologically, I'm doing that on purpose. I don't need the official looking down on that player. 3 years ago, I had a player at the school I was at in South Carolina where we are 2/3 through the season, and this is no lie. The official came up to me and says, you better tell number 10 she better not open her mouth this game. They already knew about her. Officials talk.
Yes, they do.
This player already had a reputation for herself 2/3 of the way through the season. So now I'm worried about, okay, is she going to get teed up because the officials already have it on alert, you know? And so I just think your job is to shut your mouth. You know, the speaking captain usually speaks to the official at the direction of the coach. That's my job. My job's to get on them. You know, I've been around long enough for these officials know me so I can get away with a little bit more, you know, sit there and joke with them. But players, there's no place for it. To me, that goes back to the days of when mom and grandmother told you respect your elders and you don't dare talk back to one of them. How's that different? That official is an adult. Keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely. So, got my question there for a second. Oh, okay, there we go. You just kind of spoke on it about respecting your elders and stuff like that. You've been at it again for almost 30 years. That's almost 3 decades. You're going into it.
Pilot it all. You've been talking to my team.
You just seasoned. And so what changes have you seen from players over that time or are there any?
Oh, yeah, there's definite. Part of it is we've already touched on the respect factor, the know-it-all factor, I think the overall work ethic. You know, back in the day when I played, you may not have liked what your coach said, but you sure as heck did not do what they told you.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, the why, I call it the why theory. Why are we doing this? Why should we do this? Why do we have to do this? That's probably the biggest change. And again, that goes back to the recruiting piece. They know up front how it's going to be here through the players, through myself, through my staff, that we're going to put you in the best position possible. I'm never going to ask you to do something you can't do. And if I'm asking you to do something you don't think you can do it, guess what? I think you can, and that's what matters. So we try to instill that confidence in them. But, for the most part, that's probably the biggest difference, which I think as a coach, if you don't change your values and your culture, then it's okay to adjust and deal with. I think if you're a coach that adjusts every year, you're going to struggle with that. I think you have to treat your best player the same as you treat your player who is your biggest cheerleader. I tell the story that nobody on this team is any different than anybody else, and what I'll say is if you got a major company, CEO of this company, you've got some foreign dignitary coming in wanting to do a startup company just like his. So he wants to meet with them. He goes into his office and it's a disaster. It's a mess. The person in charge of cleaning it did not do it. What's going to be your impression of that person? You're going to think, how in the world did they get to where they're at? There's unorganized. It's just dirty. You get a feeling, your first impression is awful. Now, same scenario, but that office is immaculate. He's got his stuff together is your first thoughts. That's why his company's so good. The only difference is that janitorial person, maintenance person, did the job to make it look that way. So in all reality, they're just as important because if the windows are dirty or if the trash isn't emptied or if it's a mess, he makes that office look terrible, which in turn makes the CEO look terrible. So you're only, it's nobody is any less important than anybody else on the team. And so we try to instill that. And I think that might be the selfish factor you kind of see nowadays. And I hate to say it, but AAU brings a lot of that on.
Yes, it does.
The grass is always greener on the other side. Oh, come play for me. Or they're not treating you right at that high school. Come to this high school. I think that's a bad mentality. So that's been a change. But again, if you're transparent with them up front, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it happens a lot down here in Texas, or as kids transferring teams. And I have no problem with a kid leaving my AAU team. And I tell them all the time, I took this from my mentor coach. I see you out on another team. I'm going to shake your hand. Your goal is to try to kick my butt. My goal is to try to kick your butt. Leave it at that. And so that's just what it is. And you spoke on your assistant coaches earlier. So what do you look for in your assistant coaches? What tangible aspects do you look for them when they're coming to you and looking for a job?
Work ethic. I'm big on work ethic and initiative. I don't want a yes man. Okay. I want someone who's going to be respectful, understands that they're trying to learn. Because at the small college level, let's face it, I'm here to develop them. You're going to get a lot of young coaches that are trying to learn and get better. I've got 3 players that are education majors that want to coach. And then so when those 3 we're already talking to high schools about, and then my assistant now who she'll be at the D1 level very soon. I promise you that. I've been doing this too long. Those 4 move on. I'll have 40 former players or assistants coaching somewhere. And each and every one of them, my goal has been to try to teach them a little something about every bit of this game. From the budgetary standpoint, from recruiting, because if you go on to the small college level, you better know it all. You have to be a chameleon. D1, you get specified, you get specific area you have to do, or sometimes, but I want them to be well-rounded. So when they go in that interview, they understand how to work with guards, work with post, how to handle travel situations, how to schedule, what to look for in a budget. So I need coaches that are open-minded and willing to hear that, willing to work with that, willing to take constructive criticism. But at the same time, if they feel like something's not working right, I want them to be able to sit down and talk to me in a way that they say, hey, coach, what about this here? Or the players feel like you're coming across this way here. Not afraid to say what they're thinking, but do it in a respectful manner. I want them to use understand what we want from our program. What I'm looking for. All assistants need to know what their head coach is looking for, but I take it a step further. I want them to put their spin and their personality to it. Know what we want as a program, because what we want as a program is what I'm going to want. So I just leave it as what we want as a program, and then put your personality to it and go get it. Go make it happen. I had her working with guards. She's never really worked with guards. I said, here's the areas I want us to get better at. She proceeded to come back to me with at least 10 or 15 drills she researched and asked if these would be good. I didn't ask her to do that. She did it on her own, but I let her work with guards for a few weeks. And so she can get the hang of how that works. And then I put her over the post, she's comfortable. And again, she just took off with it. And that's what I want from my assistant. They need to know they have the freedom to be them and learn. I do not want a yes, sir, no, sir person. I don't want a yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I don't want a yes, ma'am. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Got it. Totally understand. So I meant to mention this earlier when I was introducing you. Coach Walsh has coached in over 30 plus international games. I don't know too many guys who've had the opportunity to do that. So did you see any difference in coaching international games compared to the American game or whatever it may be?
I was with the organization USA Athletes International based out of Kansas. And again, this game has blessed me with a lot of, affordabilities. And coached 34 games. We lost our very first game. We won 33 cents. But the very first game we lost was because we were heading to Australia, flying out of LA, never being on a plane that big. You hear luggage coming on a plane?
Yeah.
We hear a noise. I'm thinking that's the luggage, not realizing this is a Qantas the size of a city. You're not going to hear luggage put on. Well, they told us to get off the plane only to find out that the front axle of the plane broke. That was the noise we heard. So, and of course, the guy from Australia next to me said, mate, that would have made for a rough ride. I'm like, okay. So we didn't leave out till noon the next day. Flew 15 hours, had to play 8 hours later. Yeah, that wasn't easy. So we lost in overtime and then faced that same team in the championship game and beat them by 20. But, I've been able to go to 7 different countries, and the game is so different. It is – and now that was back – it's been 10 years probably. Now you see the international influx through the NBA, the WNBA. You see that influx coming in where the game is spread out more. The range is different. There's more finesse to it. International games more finesse, without a doubt. The thing we were able to do is just be so physical with the teams we played over there. They didn't want to be touched, and it really made a difference. The game is faster. The officials literally toss you the ball and you go with it. There's none of this. The official sits there with his hand up, waiting all day to hand it. No, that doesn't happen. Well, I like playing fast, so that fit in our style perfectly. The spacing, the 3-point line, the free throw area lane, it spread us out, which again fit my attack offense we had. We're just able to be physical with it. But the physicality, and I'll be honest with you, we take it a lot more serious here. The team we played in Australia, they said it best. They said, yeah, we hate losing, and we're going to fight you to the end to win the game. But as soon as the game's over, their words were, we're going to go have a barbecue and a beer. It's over.
Yeah.
How is that in America, though? Your team loses, you're in depression for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
So that's probably, honestly, that was a major difference. Competition was there, the competitiveness was there, but it was over. It was over. They were done. Move on.
Not dwelling on it. It's hard. I guess it's an American thing. I guess you can say, just kind of want to win all the time and then be frustrated. I was that type of kid, and I'm like, man, we shouldn't even lost to them, man. They were sorry. So that's just kind of how I grew up with it and with sports overall. And talking to you within this time, I can definitely tell that you're a basketball guy, and it's hard to find time to do things for yourself, I guess you can say, especially now with Corona. I know you're probably going stir crazy, but what do you do in your leisure time when you got downtime or whatever it may be?
Well, that was probably my biggest weakness, and I've got several colleagues now that hold me accountable and self-check me. I mean, because I was bad at that. My idea of relaxing was watching film. And now I've learned I can't do that, and I think that's helped my energy this year with the season. I like to go to the mountains and just relax, go to the lake and just sit there. my quiet time, honestly, find a place where my cell phone don't work. This way I get no calls, no texts. Now it may blow up when I'm out of there, but to have that time for myself, I've learned that's one thing that this virus has done. It has forced me to relax. And now I'm so eager to get back, but it did force me to relax, which does help your health. You need that mental break. You have to. And it's so from that standpoint, it's been good. I'll go walking. It's just something that can clear your mind. And, it doesn't have to be for long, but I try to do things where I know I am totally away from basketball. So when I come back to it, it doesn't overwhelm me, if that makes sense.
I get it. I had to try to start walking because of certain health issues. I'm getting older. Not that old, but I'm getting older, but my blood pressure's going up, so my doctor told me I need to walk, so I try as much as possible. But I'm a basketball guy. I live it. I breathe it. If I'm watching a game and I see a play and I see somebody that's watching with me, I'm like, man, did you see that? And they like, didn't. I'm like, well, let me rewind it for you.
See, I can't watch basketball games now because I'm critiquing the heck out of it.
Absolutely.
It got to a point where it's really hard for me to watch basketball games, and
can't enjoy it as a fan.
Exactly. So, but by getting away and doing some of the things I've done, I can now watch a game. I'm not in that mode the whole time to keep figuring out something new, and so I strongly encourage it. I know everybody says to do it, and I just wasn't one of those people. Again, next year is going to be my 29th year, and for 26 of those years, 27 of those years, I mean, my 10 years at Carson Newman Division II school, I literally, when I left there, all my vacation and sick pay was given to me from 10 years. I never took one.
Oh, wow.
So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. More proof probably that I love this game because I have not let it burn me out.
Okay. So my next question is, obviously you love basketball, but I've asked every coach that's been on here, your biggest joy from coaching overall, like what is it? And then what each player that graduates from you or that might transfer, what do you hope that's one thing that they learn from you?
Everything we do with basketball is a life lesson. So I hope eventually they figure out what I was doing isn't personal. I tell them, this isn't high school. You're not zoned to go here. If I didn't like you, I can get rid of you. It literally is that simple. My biggest joy, the graduation rate and seeing them go on and be successful young women. Two other things are individualized. One, I had a young lady who nobody in her family ever graduated from high school even, did not know who her dad was. Her mom had been in and out of jail. Grandmother was raising her. Ended up going to junior college because she had a child in high school and called me crying saying, Coach, is that okay? And I said, yes, we'll keep up with you. Ended up coming to me after the junior college only to have to keep her child on campus because when mom was out of jail, she gave her grandmother third-degree burns, which provided an unhealthy, safe environment.
Wow.
Therefore, they were going to put the child in foster care. So now she is playing basketball, taking care of a child, working. She was dismissed from the team because she was at a party where an illegal substance was at. And from inhaling that illegal substance, it came back. She ended up being drug tested because there was random testing, NCAA level, got drug tested. Well, that was an automatic policy with our team. But I kept her, and she stayed all summer long working. And, and I'm a firm believer, everybody's going to make mistakes. There is not one perfect person around.
Absolutely.
Like, drive me crazy with social media right now is everybody's preaching like they're perfect. Get over yourselves. You're not. But by her working all summer long, I was like, wow, she's learned her lesson. And this kid's got a chance to make something of herself. So we had her back on the team. We re-honored her scholarship. But with all that going on, she came to my office at Christmas crying and said, Coach, I can't do this. I don't have enough hours in the day to get everything done. So we kept her on scholarship. She graduated. So the first person ever in her family to graduate. Last I heard, she was running her own enterprise, car rental.
That's an amazing story.
So that is a huge joy. And then this year's team, they were kicked to the curb, told they wouldn't win, lost key players from a 500 team all year long. We were never given a chance to do anything. And the heart, the family atmosphere, the no drama, the playing for each other, the playing hard for coaches, it just everything they did made this year such a joy. I literally did not want season to end. This is the first time in my career I never wanted a season to end.
I get it. I totally get it. Having those type of moments is just special. It's just something that you'll never forget overall. We have a comment by Ronnie and Shannon Caldwell, I believe.
Oh, Lord.
I'm pretty sure you might know who this is.
Know what they're going to say.
Okay. Well, no, it's a good question. Great question. It says, do you feel like kids will come back with a greater love for the game since all the COVID has limited them so much? We have discussed this a lot with our daughter. They just want to know your thoughts.
From speaking for my team only, yes, they can't wait to get back to school. Now, with that being said, their parents can't wait to get them out of the house either. And I think, to me, if you truly love the game, the answer to that has to be yes. Because ask anybody who's been injured, when the game is taken from you, or there's a thought of the game being taken from you, you appreciate it. We tend to not appreciate things we do every day. We take it for granted. And I think this can happen. But I have also heard and seen it from other coaches telling me this. They're using it as an excuse. We may not go back to school, so why should we work hard? We may not have a season, so why should we do this? Fortunately, we don't have players like that. At the same time, I prepare them. I said, listen, you've got to do what you got to do to make sure we do have a season. Do your part. Could it be taken away? I don't know. You're seeing this happen with other schools across the country. It's different regions where things are worse. But, I think our team, speaking for our team, they can't wait to get back here and do things, but things are different. I mean, it's going to look different. It's going to be different. Therefore, don't think of what you've done in the past. It's not going to happen that way. Just roll with it. Be the example. Don't be the complaint.
Okay, give me a second. I think my laptop is kind of acting funny.
It's too hot.
I guess so. Hold on. All right, there we go. A little malfunction. It happens. That's a great question by Ronnie and Shannon Caldwell. And I totally agree. I see kids that are working, and I see kids that aren't. And I just tell them to be prepared. You never know. Down here in Texas, it's getting pretty bad with this coronavirus situation. I see that I want to say the Ivy League has just canceled their games for the fall. And
but I want to tell you that the Ivy League, though, they don't need sports. The Ivy League, the Ivy League is glorified intramurals, and I know this from people that have gone to Princeton. Actually, out of high school, I had someone that I could have been placed in a prep school to go on to Princeton. And, yes, they want to win, but there's no scholarship involved. They're not making money from any of their sports. And they are in a hotbed zone where Corona, they're near the, ground zero, so to say. So, you go to Ivy League, you don't think of sports. Let's face it, you really don't. You think attorney, you think of this, that, and another, doctors, neuroscientist, whatever words you can't pronounce. I mean, you're thinking of all that. And I think a lot of people are getting a panic. Oh, no, they canceled that. Again, guys, control what you can control so it doesn't happen, And if you read into it, it says basketball, they're talking about starting in January. So, again, there's so many scenarios out there, and a lot of people are panicking and jumping the gun on this. Is it real? Yes. Do you have to be prepared? Yes. Do you need to panic? No. Fear can control your life, and don't let it. It's just don't let it.
Yeah, I'm trying my best out here in Texas to, kind of see what they're going to do. I work at an elementary school, and I don't really know what's going to happen, but we're getting down to the last couple of questions. I try to ask this with everyone. Any changes in basketball from any level would you like to see overall?
I mean, I think high schools need a shot clock just
Mm-hmm.
to make the game a little more interesting and moving. And I mean, you hear I talk at a lot of high school coaches clinics, and the biggest complaint you hear coaches say is the middle schools aren't preparing them for us. And I laugh, and I had one coach say, "Well, what's so funny?" I said, "Well, you say that, and I say that about you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not preparing your." And again, I get it. All your kids don't want to play college. That is fine, and you got to control that circumstance so you don't lose kids. But for those to get ready for college, you have to prepare them too. Just like those in middle school who want to play high school, you have to prepare them for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a shot clock is important. What scares me is here in a year, 2 years, the 3-point line's moving back to international distance, which now puts it almost 3 feet further than high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big difference. If nothing else, it's a mental difference. So, those are some factors. Other than that, I'm good with the game as it is. The women's game, we've gone to quarters, which was an adjustment, especially with the style of play I had. But the reality is the only sport that doesn't go quarters is men's college basketball. Every
Mm-hmm.
other level, NBA, international, high school, everything is quarters. Um, and the women's game is like the NBA where you can advance the ball. I actually love that. Under a minute, you can advance the ball up to the coach's box. Um, you know, I do love that. So to me, no, widening the lane, I don't know that it'll matter. Honestly, the 3-point line moving back, I'm okay with that because it creates spacing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I would probably suggest, and you see Georgia just did it, they're going to a shot clock. So several states are now going to shot clocks. I would like to see that, and I'm thinking a 45-second shot clock for high school.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. I haven't jumped that far as 45 seconds, but I get what you're saying. The biggest problem that we have out here in Texas is, especially in AAU, everybody wants to press. And I've fallen victim to that myself because at the end of the day, like man, I want to win and pressing works, but I really wish that wasn't the norm here in Texas as far as just pressing because when you get to college, man, players are better, the coaching is better. You don't really see teams pressing like that. We see a lot of teams playing zone in AAU. And I don't know what you run defensively, but I used to tell my kids all the time when I did boys, there's only one team that plays predominantly zone, and that's Syracuse.
Yep.
You can't get out and defend your guy. How can you expect to play at the next level? And so that's just one thing I really wish that would change pressing and a lot of the zone things.
And you're right. At the college level, the pressing is situational because
Mhm.
everybody's a better ball handler, better passer, coaching, the spacing, you name it. The zone factor, you still have to know how to run man if you're going to run a good zone.
Mhm.
We ran a matchup zone this year that was extremely effective. We led our conference in defense this year. To start the first 6 games of the year, we couldn't cover a chair if we were a seat cushion. And then we changed to this to fit our team. They bought in, but part of it was they bought into how we did our man principles. And I think regardless, and that is one thing that has been a major disappointment. High school kids coming in and having zero clue how to run any man principle. I literally had a player look at me 2 years ago, said, "I don't understand what you mean when you keep saying help side, coach." So one thing I wanted to say, we're talking about fear a second ago. One of my players posted today, fear has 2 meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. And
Absolutely.
to me, I don't know you can speak any more truer statement than today. Forget everything and rise above it. Do what you got to do. Or fear and run and live in fear for your life. Be controlled by it. And I just think today that was Karis, one of my players. She posted that, and I was like, that's awesome. I mean, that was perfect for today.
I totally agree because you said fear everything and rise.
Fear everything and run, or forget everything and rise.
Got it. For me, I'm a person that don't like to be on camera. We talked about this before we got on. And for me to kind of do this and like God put it on my heart to kind of step out and get out in front of the camera, that's a very true statement. And we talked before you got on here that you don't really like to talk about yourself. And it is what it is. But To that player, I congratulate her for that, putting it out there. Now it's my favorite section of the show, kind of a quick Q&A, rapid fire. I'm going to do two quick questions, and I've done it with every coach that's been on here. Uh, you've been at it for a while. You've seen multiple players. My dad was a huge Magic Johnson guy. I was too. I tried to play like him a little bit. Allen Iverson, once I got older, that was my guy. And then around 2010 is where I became a huge Kobe fan. So with this year, 2020, uh, what are your thoughts on Kobe Bryant?
He's a great player. He may be one of the best all-around players there were. I still
Absolutely.
say when it came to making, to me, great players are those that make everybody around them rise above it all.
Mhm.
Jordan still puts it up there. But I would put Kobe a close second in all honesty. And I think nowadays the argument of who's the best player ever isn't fair. The game is different. I mean,
Absolutely.
the reality is with the way the NBA is called this year, now, Jordan can score 40. Because let's face it, you look at the days when he played, they beat the fool out of each other. They tried to
Uh,
kill each other, and there is no dominant big man now. Kobe did have the advantage of having Shaq, one of the most arguably dominant big men. Kareem, one of the most dominant big men and versatile big men that doesn't come up in an argument, of being
mhm.
the greatest. Wilt Chamberlain back in his day, there are just too many things you can talk about. Magic, you can literally say he's the best point guard ever because he could play all five positions on the floor and proved it in the NBA
Absolutely.
Finals when he had
Yeah.
to play center. Um, so that's a tough question just because I think you have to go by position more than anything. But Kobe and Matt and Jordan, when you look at the all-around game, the defensive ability, the offensive ability, the ability to make their team rise, I think both of those are right there.
Yeah. Cream of the crop type of guys.
Yeah.
Um, Kobe, obviously he moderned his game right after Jordan, but I think the footwork and the ability to just be obsessive on what's going to happen, what to do next. I think he separated himself from anybody, and it's hard, man. Like you said, you can go through every era. There's a great player that can be considered the greatest.
I
Um,
mean, we do my jab series that I do from the perimeter.
mhm,
I got from a guy named Ernie Hobby, who was Jordan's shooting coach, who's
mhm.
now passed on. But he called him the Jordan 6, and it was the moves that Jordan did with his jab series. I do, you do a lot of individual player movement moves, with the ball. I've got Kobe moves we use that a couple of my players have instilled and done. So, they've got part of the game that translates to every level. I think so many coaches out there say, well, UConn does it, or Baylor does it, or Tennessee does it. Why can't we do it? You don't have
Mhm.
those players.
Yeah.
But but Jordan and Kobe work so hard at their craft from the basics on up that their game transitions to every level that every child, male, female, can learn and develop and get better from.
And parents and players, if you're out there listening, coach is talking about transitioning levels. So work on your fundamentals. Those things will carry you
Yep.
as long as you want to play. Um, my last question, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You're in the bluegrass state, Kentucky. So if you have your choice, is it Kentucky basketball or Louisville basketball?
Oh, it's Kentucky. If it's red, it's only because Kentucky squashed Louisville. That's why it's red. It's Kentucky all the way. So there's no argument. There's no spot there.
Okay. I've seen the rivalry, man. I've seen games where Louisville has put it on Kentucky,
Yep.
and we've had probably about the last 4 or 5 years out in Houston, and we've had kids go to Kentucky, the Harrison twins, and
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox and Jared Vanderbilt. Those guys all chose Kentucky, and so I had to root for those guys. But I've seen Louisville put it on Kentucky many times.
And again, when it comes to that, it's going to be Kentucky. When it comes to the women's game, I'm definitely more of a Louisville fan. I think Coach Jeff Walsh does a great job up there with his program. But no, I've always bled blue. Even when I lived in Tennessee, had fun going wearing blue and seeing the sea of orange, and only to see us blue win. Everywhere I've been, it's been big blue.
Got it. So we're going to get ready to end the show with that. I put your information back up for those who want to come back and watch, Coach Dean Walsh is at Union out in Kentucky. Ladies coach, don't be afraid to contact them and talk sports. And Coach, I really appreciate your time. I've told people this before. Time is something that you can't get back. So for you to give me your time, and when I reached out to you, you were willing and able to come on. And so I totally appreciate it. And anything else that you would like to say for those who are still watching?
I appreciate you. I mean, I think what I've seen the show a couple of times. I encourage everybody to continue watching it. I think you've done a great job. I like the array of guests you've got coming on. It's been all over the place, so it gives different opinions, and I think that's important, is to learn different opinions. But again, I'm open to anybody who wants to talk. If it's just parents out there who don't understand the recruiting process, I've helped that too. Because I'm going to be an unbiased person. I may not know who your child is, male, female. You can just ask the question, hey, should the coach be doing this, that, or another? I'll tell you, I am very transparent. That's that simple, and take it or leave it. That's me.
Yeah. So we're going to get ready to get out of here, people. Thank you. Until next time, peace.
Thank you.
Later.